Good morning. What's going on? I'm going to answer a question that I got via email about 3D printing, drafting, and all that stuff. FYI, I just set all of this video and camera stuff up again 5 minutes ago. So if anything quality-wise sucks, I apologize. If this mic sucks, we got it back up just in case. But I'm going to try and show you kind of what I do when I'm trying to get items in the physical realm into the virtual realm when it comes to drafting, 3D printing, and designing. Kind of what tools I use and what has been the most successful for me so far. So first of all, tools, right? When you are talking about trying to bring things like this, let's say you want to get this into drafting software, right? Just so you know, a lot of the most recent phones, like smartphones, they have something called LiDAR, which allows you to 3D scan items and then import those files into drafting software. Now, they aren't extremely accurate. They're only so good. But sometimes that can get you most of the way there. You still have to find a way to get it to the right scale, and that's kind of what what I'm going to show you is. But when it comes to tools, very minimal. You do not need a lot to make this happen. If you have a phone and a pencil, you are already half of the way there. So the things that I use for like wanting to get something into digital realm are already in this room. So pencil of choice, ruler of choice, right? Anything that's straight. I just got my Crocs stuck on the ground. This one is required. This one makes things easier, but isn't required. This is a set of digital calipers. This just allows you to take any item, measure it, and then it gives you a digital readout of what the measurement is. And like this is probably the most used tool in my arsenal. This right here is, I actually don't know the complete name of this. I've had this for probably 15 years. I stole it from my dad when I lived at home like 20 years ago or however long ago it was. And this just always keeps things at an exact right angle and you can adjust it. And when it comes to photogrammetry, which is this technique that I'm going to show you, it's nice to have things square. So I have a very basic setup. And again, this is going to look a little bit more advanced, but you can do this with just your phone. So photogrammetry is the technique of taking pictures of things in real life and then bringing that picture into drafting software and kind of drawing over it or drawing around it, and then keeping things to scale. And by taking pictures of objects with rulers in frame, that allows you to scale things. And I actually need to do this for one of my final projects for this desk build. So I'm just going to kind of go through that. So again, I have a camera mounted here. You don't need that. What's actually really cool, I can't show you because my phone is there. In the default iPhone camera app, when you're holding the phone like this, and it might be all the time, there's actually a little crosshair indicator that tells you when your phone is perfectly parallel hanging in the sky. So with photogrammetry, if you're taking a picture of an object and you're off center, you're gonna, due to the curvature of the glass and the lens, the distance, the focal length, all these really technical factors, they can distort items in pictures and then they don't end up being true to their shape. So photogrammetry, photo, grammar, but gramma, tree. You're gonna have to just figure out what the word is, okay? Look it up, look at what the process is. They're gonna give a better description. But it's basically just taking a picture of an item, making sure that the camera is parallel, and a higher focal length, meaning zoomed in, that is usually gonna give you the most proportionate, least distorted image. So this is gonna be jarring, I apologize, it's gonna go fast, right? So that right there is a camera that has a zoom lens that is pointed directly down at my desk. So that is the item that I'm trying to get into the virtual realm today. This is a handle that gets screwed to a server case, okay? So I'm gonna go back here. So all I'm doing is this camera is connected to an HDMI cable, which goes into a capture card, which goes into OBS, what I'm recording with right now. So what having a camera connected to the computer does is I can take screenshots within OBS, and then I can take those pictures that are, I think they're PNGs, and then I can import them into drafting software. So I'm gonna switch over to this other scene. Nope, that's not it. I need to go to photogrammetry, okay? So right here is the camera looking down at this item. So you're gonna see my hand here, and we're actually out of focus. So I'm gonna stand up I'm gonna focus this a little bit. And I'm not actually recording with the camera. I'm just doing an HDMI capture. Okay, so that's good enough. In OBS, I have these two images. Boop, boop. Please show yourself. Boop, boop. These are two guidelines for me that allow me to make sure that my items are straight up and down, right? So the first thing that I do is I grab my ruler, which is phase up, which is good. And I'll just get it as close to lining up with that line as I can. And a lot of the times, the camera that you're holding in the sky is not gonna be, a perfect right angle, so that just kind of helps me do that. So that's there, and that is probably good enough. All right, and then I'm just gonna make sure that this little device is lined up with that ruler, and that allows me to take accurate measurements. Okay, so this is all that's happening, and that still doesn't look to be in focus. Hold on. Hey, there we go. All right, so I have a shortcut. It's Command 1 that takes a screenshot of whatever the OBS preview is showing. And I don't really need the handle part of this. I just need like the main base plate. And so that's done. Let me make sure that I got that screenshot. Cool. Let me go over to my desktop capture. Whoop. This is my drafting software, Shaper 3D. Any drafting software will do. So there's my picture, right? And having this ruler in the shot makes it so that I can scale this perfectly with the drafting software, okay? So I'm gonna move this out of here. I'm gonna come over to my drafting software, and obviously there's gonna be a good amount of drafting knowledge that is at play here that it's gonna take you a while to get, but I'll just kind of show you the basis of what I'm doing. Oh my God, please let me grab the fucking corner. Why are grabbable corners so small? Why are they so goddamn small? I'm gonna just grab this image, and a lot of the times what I'll do is instead of trying to import the image into the drafting software, I just take the image on my computer and I'll screenshot that, except I can't grab the corners of this to make it bigger. Okay, and yoink. Coming over to drafting software, paste. No, drag and drop? I guess I do have to drag and drop, okay. So now I have this image in the drafting software. I'm gonna move this up. And a lot of times what you can do is, because I used guides in the image, this red line here, this axis, perfectly lines up with the ruler that I have, which just makes things super easy. So looks to me, now, one thing that I didn't do very smart is, usually it's a good idea to put the 0, the beginning of the ruler, at the edge of your thing so that you have to do less math. So this looks like it is, so this goes from 7, 21, 22. So 7 to 22, so 15. So 15 centimeters, 150 millimeters. So what I'll do is I'll just grab a rectangle, and I'm gonna do, nope, 150. I made another mistake. Usually I have two rulers, one for the x-axis. Why am I not looking at the camera? One for the x-axis and one for the y-axis. That just makes it easier. So we'll go, we're gonna create this rectangle, okay? And now what I can do is, instead of redoing the whole photogrammetry process, I can just come over here and actually measure what the height of that image was. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. 59 millimeters. So come back over to here, edit the height, 59, enter, boom. And now I have the width and height of the bracket that I'm looking for. So I'm just gonna make this, let's say 4 millimeters tall. Even, actually, that's way too big, 2. Okay, bring this down. And now, come into here, we want to adjust the opacity of the image that we imported. Okay. And now we need to scale this properly. Now, I haven't figured out how to do this easily within Shaper, because like, it's just difficult to try and get it scaled and centered. But I want to do a uniform scale. Blow this up. Did this go back to 100% opacity? Why can't I see through it? No, it didn't. What the fuck? Anyways, okay. So try to get it as centered as you can. Come over here to scale, blow this up. There we go. So that's kind of the image. That's kind of the issue with Shaper, is that when you have it selected, it goes to 100% opacity, which isn't great. So I'm kind of getting there. Move this over. Maybe somebody who's watching this video will tell me a better way to do this. We want to get an exact top. We want to get exact top. Now, because this item isn't fully flat and there's a little bit of height here, the more height that your object has, the more distorted it's going to be going up to the lens. So if you look at what I'm kind of working on here, you can see the edge of this plate is actually right here. It's skewed a tiny bit, but it's going to be within like a quarter or a half of a millimeter. And so it's going to be good enough. So boom. That is good enough. So now, in order to replicate where those holes are, and again, when you're zooming in so far, you don't need to be like perfect, right? If you can just eyeball these things like, let's say that's the center, right? And if you actually want to get the exact measurement of that hole, right, you take those calipers that have this right. Oh, let me switch you over. Take your calipers, shove it in the hole. And you get, hey, that hole is 4 millimeters at 4.07 millimeters. But when it comes to 3D printing, you can only make adjustments so fine before it's not going to be able to print it. So there's 4, right? Oops. So there's a 4 millimeter hole. There's going to be another 4 millimeter hole. And of course, there's going to be more scientific ways to get these exact measurements. I'm not that smart, but this gets it to be good enough. Like everything that I've done so far has been good enough. Boom. There's the holes. And then you want to make sure that the holes on the other side are going to be lined up thanks to the snap guides. So just by following this snap guide here, you can see that the image that I imported is just slightly twisted. It's just probably a quarter of a millimeter off. That's not really going to be a problem because I know that my draft is perfectly up and down or perfectly at right angles. So not really worried about it. I'm just going to make sure this gets close enough. That looks about center. Again, 4. Boom. Perfectly lined up with those 2, 4, boom, good enough. All right, got those deal. So I can hide that image and then I can just make these holes. Zip, zip, zip. Goodbye. There's holes now. Look at that. We're already halfway there. So looking at this piece here, right, I don't need to go into photogrammetry mode to get this measurement. I just want to know how thick this lip is here. Grab the calipers. 2.2. Now, knowing that my printer can only print at 0.04 increments because that's the size of my nozzle, I know that a thickness of 2.4, rounding it up to 2.4, is going to be fine. So here, grab a rectangle from diagonal, and I want that to be 2.4. Lock that measurement in, and then get how high it is. 21.6. 21.6. Now, 21.6 is the outer measurement. Let's see how, yeah, 21.6, so that's perfect. And then you can just keep building from there. Now, again, we didn't really get the measurement of the handle for this, but if I were to grab my calipers and go, okay, how far is the edge of this handle to the edge of the bracket itself? Boop. 20 millimeters. So if I come over to the side here and I measure 20 millimeters from the side and then 20 from this side, and I know that I'm going to make mine slightly oval. I just want to get the width and height of the thickness. All right, 8 by 16, 8, 16. Select both of those, figure out how tall this is, ish. I don't need anything exact, 38 millimeters tall, boom. And then for the handle, that spans from piece to piece, 8 millimeters. Okay, we're getting there. Fillet that edge, fillet that edge, fillet, fillet. All right, do that one right. I'm just doing this quick just to kind of show you. And look at that. We're pretty much it's 80% of the way done. Now I've got about 78 designs under my belt so far, and it was only the past like 5 that I've actually had this entire rig for doing this. For all of the other ones, I was just taking my phone, making sure that it was parallel with the desk, taking the picture, making sure the rulers were in the shot, importing it in, and then drafting, pretty much just eyeballing things. If you zoom in far enough to where you're making adjustments at the 0.000 millimeter, you can just eye it and it'll end up working out. And if it doesn't work out, then you just redo it. That's how it goes. But that is pretty much how I do all of that. Again, not a lot of tools needed. If you got a phone, if you got a camera, and got drafting software, you're pretty much there. And that is how I have done so many things. And a lot of times, even if I'm not doing the photogrammetry route, I'm just taking this and measuring thing by thing and then drafting it down on paper. Like, I had actually started just outlining this device, this little bracket here, on paper. And then I would take my measurements and I would actually measure, draw out all of my measurements on paper first, and then I would start drafting it in software. But, again, I'm brand new to this. I've only been doing this for about a year. I've only got about 70 whatever drafts under my belt so far, but this has worked out really well for me so far. So hopefully that is helpful. Goodbye.